Hi everyone. Today we are going to have an interesting discussion with Zubaidah, whom we are invited here to do this recording with us, so that we hope to give you some value add to your life as a therapist in the area of career progression in the therapy world. Okay, so I think I will first invite Zubaidah to give an intro of yourself. What you have done, what are your achievements, and what you're proud of, and why you are here today with us.
I think first and foremost, I'd like to thank Regina for inviting me over for this. I think it's quite a privilege to be even considered to be interviewed by the esteemed Regina. Regina is actually senior in school, and she is also way ahead of her peers in more ways than one. And I honestly look up to Regina as well. So a bit of me, I think I started out in an acute hospital, in Alexandra Hospital to be exact. After that, I took on a senior position in Ang Mo Kio, and then following that, I got a scholarship to do my master's in advanced occupational therapy. So that's in 2014, and I had to serve my bond. So during that time, I was also promoted to become a principal OT. And while serving my bond, I did my second master's in Master of Public Health. And following that, I took a gap year. So I decided to step back a bit and to just, reposition and see where else I can contribute to the system. And right now, I'm currently heading the rehabilitation services as an assistant director, but not just rehab. It's more so for community programs. So it involves other sectors of the organization as well. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So Zubaidah, you have been in the industry about 15 years, isn't it?
More or less than you are.
And so basically you have been in the industry for 15 years, you have done 2 masters, and you have actually had progressed through different roles in your time in the OT world. So that is why we highly think that your sharing today is relevant. You have experienced it on the ground yourself, and you would have some nuggets of wisdom to share, with our therapists out here, especially younger ones who are trying to navigate these waters and understand better, right? So for a start, right, I was a bit curious about what you think, like in terms of like career progression, what are the changes you have seen through the years? What's your opinion on that?
Right now, what we have seen so far is that the structure right now, there's 4 pathways. A researcher, an administrator, management, and also a clinical specialist. But I foresee in future this is going to extend more than that, because especially the fact where technology comes in, and also there's aging that's going to accelerate a bit more. And as you know, we are extending our retirement age. Yes. It's no longer 65, it's 67, and then soon enough we're going to be 68. And then there's articles saying that they're going to increase it to 70. Right? So when that happens, I think OTs have more role to play in different ways, be it wellness program or return to work program or retirement engagement to work program. So there are, I believe in future there will be more than just 4 pathways, and I hope that therapists don't just limit themselves to that, because there's really a lot of things coming up. And during my time 15 years ago, there was no 4 pathways. I'm sure you remember, right, Regina? It was just specialists. And clinical specialists and academics. That's it. And over time, it became 4. And I'm pretty sure over time, it will grow further, especially with globalization, with technology and advancement in technology that we see, and especially the fact that with the pandemic right now. I think technology is going to pick up very fast, and the role for therapists to be utilizing technology for treatment and using it as a modality will also increase exponentially. That's how I see it in the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting point. I think when you were sharing, in my mind, I was envisioning that, hey, down the road, we will have like OTs who are also app developers, you know, they are people who have furthered their studies in the area of technologies rather than just traditional clinical work. Those are very interesting areas which I'm sure the younger therapists would also might have some interest in. And that's how we could actually evolve this landscape along. That's very cool. All right. So what then you think of the notion that, you know, further study is definitely necessary in the lifespan of a therapist? Do you think that there is something valid? 100%?
It is not 100% valid because I really think it depends on where you want to go and what you want to do. If you want to be a researcher, an academician, definitely you need a PhD. There's no two ways about it. If you want to be a manager or an administrator, I would say a master's would be a good platform for you to, you know, pivot and then jump across. Though in terms of technology and other means, even if you want to consider healthcare financing, because as you know right now, with One Rehab coming up and GST increasing, right? You heard all the news coming in, inflation and stuff like that. Healthcare budget is going to change, right? And then they're going to look a lot more at the numbers. And therapists need to be very prudent as to how much can their patients receive therapy. Because like doctors or surgery, we're a bit different. So the kind of therapy that we provide needs to be not only cost efficient, but it needs to provide good quality outcome. So these kind of areas of work, like maybe healthcare financing, how do you increase the budget for rehab per se and stuff like that, those need not necessarily need a master's, perhaps maybe some form of short courses like certificates and stuff like that to value add the work that you do. And I really think it depends on what kind of person you are. It's no longer like, oh, you know, like a senior tell you, oh, you know, you need to be neuro or auto or dementia. It's really not that. If you see that there's a gap in the sector and that's something that you feel addressing, and I think you should really step forward and say that, hey, I think this is something that we can work on and stuff like that. And then hopefully with a good open communication with your senior, that your senior sees it, and then how then do they coach you and guide you in that sense. But at the same time, some seniors may not see, right, the value of what you want to do, because sometimes they may not even know or be aware that there is even a possibility. So, I mean, when I first took my master's in public health, there was a lot of flashback. Like people say, oh, there's no role for OTs and stuff like that. So my master's in public health was self-sponsored. Okay, by the way, it's self-sponsored.
Okay.
Yeah, and then put me forward in a lot of ways. I have friends and great colleagues in the ministry. I have close ties with AIC. It has to expand a lot of networks for me. And I think that's something that OTs need to be aware of, that they need not just wait for the organization to sponsor them or to put them to training. I think training and development goes down to their self-need. And then, you know, what do they want to contribute at the end of the day?
So in that sense, what are the features, you know, of we would define as a conducive workplace that is, you know, helpful to your career progression, as well as being able to provide mentorship and coaching? What would you define as the features of such a workplace?
Giving me a very difficult question.
Yeah, but no names.
I think it's very hard. Okay. I mean, I've been working in different institutions, and for good reasons. Your seniors themselves have a lot of work to do, and sometimes they really don't have time to coach you. So how I think I cope, I guess, I think because at that point in time, you know, when we were seniors, we were also looking for coaching and stuff like that, right? But there were enough seniors to go around for the juniors, and I think that's also the current issue right now. So you really have to put yourself out there, and your support may not even be from the therapy world. Your support would be from friends or even personal development courses that you have to sign up for yourself. Like I said, your developmental work is not something that you should wait for someone to pay for you, but your developmental work is something definitely that you have to work on yourself. I think, what do you think, Regina? How do you? Yeah, I think you should.
Yes,
I mean, especially during your time, right?
yeah. I would
Yeah.
guess certainly the path has to be created by ourselves in many ways. So like for myself, I basically is immersed in the business development side of the therapy world, which I would say probably not a lot of therapies are in this category at this point. Firstly, because it's still pretty much concentrated in the private world that business development is the most relevant. Actually, I would think that in the VWO or hospitals, there is that role, right? It's like program development, similar, just that with a business goal and maybe our working towards revenue generation is different, but on the whole, it is still very relevant. So in my time, there was no such track. You have to basically take the shovel and dig out the track yourself, right? You have to network with the right people. You have to share about your landscape. You have to be passionate about what you do, because actually out there, even in the business world, people would appreciate if you are passionate and knowledgeable. Yeah, that would be the two key. And having inner drive, resilience and grit is, of course, the resilience and the ability to withstand troubling situations or new things out there. Those are very important aspects of carving your own path. So those are the journey I went is probably not so common. So that I also don't expect a lot of people to then have that opportunity to do that. But it is something that if they have interest, then for myself, I'm actually very happy to coach younger therapists who are keen. For example, they want to start a business in the therapy world, they want to open a clinic, etc. Those are things I've been working with quite a bit of therapists to go through the reality, what are the pros and cons, how much you need to invest in, etc. Is this a journey you really want to take? So those are the interesting part of what I do with them. Yeah. So if you ask me for my opinion, because I myself was not so much in one workplace, but more like I created my own workplace, right? I created my own company, etc., and joint venture with others. So personally, I would say that inner drive and what you want to do would matter more than what is available out in the setting you are at. You just have to create them.
I think that sums up what I have to say as well. It really depends on what you want to contribute, right?
Yeah.
Sector. And then sometimes, or most often the time, if it's a new thing or if it's a new area, you will definitely be the trailblazer and you'll be definitely the first one carving that path. Before me, there was no OTs doing public health. So after me, there are now OTs coming into public health. So it's a good start. And if you feel that something worthwhile is worth exploring, and you feel that it's something that you can withstand, like I said, all the trials, tribulation, with a lot of passion, definitely, I think at the end of the day, when you look back, like, hey, here I am, and for all you know, there will be another master in another field, right?
Yep. Cool.
We need different kind of OTs. I think that's something that we all need to be aware of. Like, we need OTs in technology, we need OTs in finance, we need OT in architectural firms for universal designs and stuff like that.
Yes.
So what's most important is don't just limit yourself to just the 4 paths that the institution has laid for you. And even then, it wasn't a path that they have decided. It was just a path that grew naturally. I'm pretty sure, even before our senior seniors, it was a clinician, then suddenly they just got promoted to a leadership role, and then it organically evolved. So I think what matters is what you want to do and what's your intent. And life has an interesting way of opening doors for you.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, I like that sharing. Yeah, life would open doors when you we're willing to step out of your comfort zone and seek for it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, great. So I think today this sum up our bite-sized sharing. All right. So with Zubaidah, and we thank her for her time coming on this discussion platform together. And I'm sure that we all have takeaway points from what you have heard today. And I did, from our discussion also, I thought of that the next very interesting topic that we could talk about in future is really about leadership, that you have also mentioned. Yeah. How to, what all about leadership, basically, you know, how do we grow leadership qualities, etc. So those are something that also a lot of the younger therapists are very interested in. In fact, therefore there's a lot of them in school time, they already are in leadership position in like their extracurricular activities, etc., your societies and clubs, but they want to then move into the field of in the therapy world. How do they become better leaders, etc.? So that is something that I think would be great for our next discussion.
Yeah, for sure. And I think given the sequence and stuff like that, it would be great to actually interact with them at even any one point in time.
Sure. So I think that's our inspiration. All right. So at this point, I will thank you for, and in fact, you are far away in Australia, so we're actually doing an international discussion platform today.
Oh.
It's a very unique landscape, actually. So I wish you well, and I thank you for your time here today. All right, and we will look forward to producing more content that is relevant to the therapy world, to our juniors and seniors and everyone. I mean, we are all peer learning from each other, so that as a whole, the landscape can grow. That's basically our passion and aim, right? In the OT world, that we all grow together, and then we can make this whole OT world a better place, you know. And this is considering we just celebrated Singapore OT Day.
Yes, happy OT Day, Regina.
So and it's like I'm also like maybe 16-ish year, 17 year in the OT world, and that is something I feel for my next lab is also about how do we contribute back, how do we value add back to the OT world. That is also something I'm very passionate about. All right,
yeah,
thank you.
I think thanks, Regina.